All right, so here is our pattern pieces. I've cut out the fabric on each one of them, and the only allowance I added was 0.5 for the joining allowance, okay, and the bottom side, and then by the side I added 1.5 allowance, and this is the back, the same thing. You can see the pattern is still on it for you to see the allowance that I added, 0.5 and then 1.5 for the side here. I also went ahead to cut the lining, the support lining for it, and the lining I normally iron it with my haystay. Can you see? So you have to iron your interfacing on your support fabric. Okay, so that is what I've done. So I'll go back ahead and then stitch it together to become one. Okay, so for the lower parts of this gown, first one I did was gathers, and for you to know the quantity of fabric you'll be using for the gathers to achieve the fullness that you're looking at now, is for you to multiply your waist circumference by 10. So you could do 15 if you really want to get a very big fullness, okay? But because of the kind of material I'm using, this fabric is actually thick and heavy. So I decided to multiply my waist circumference by 5. And then I deduct the half length measurement from the full length of the child to be able to get the exact length of the skirt. So that is what I have cut here. So then again, we have a flare on top of it. So the flare that is resting on top of it there is angle 720 flare. That is to say that I cut out 360 into 2. So this is 360 and this is angle 360. Can you see? So two of them joined together is what is giving us this beautiful flare you are looking at. So that is what you will do. You know how to cut your angle 360, multiply your waist circumference by 6.28, and then you add the length, your desired length to it to be able to cut your curve. And then after doing that, I went ahead to cut the support lining for each one of them. Okay, so that will be all for the skirt part. The next thing I'll be doing is to sew my crinoline on it. How do I do that? All right, so this is our fabric. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my support fabric, that is the lining, and I'll place it on top of this. So I'll make sure that I'm starting to sew on this part. So this is the right side, facing the right side of my lining. I'll place it like this, make sure that it's aligning properly. And after that, I'll place my crinoline on top of it like so. And I'm going to stitch it down all through. I'm trying to pin it so that you will see that how possible it is. So I'll do this all through, and then I'll sew on it 0.5 all through. Now after sewing that, you will have to open it up and top stitch. Okay, open it up and top stitch, and then you flip it over. So this is what you're going to have at the end of the day, like so. Can you see? So I'll go ahead and sew it up, and I'll come back and show you. Now the next thing I'll be showing us is how to cut our turtleneck. So you have to get the fabric of your choice. This is the fabric I'll be using for my turtleneck. So what you have to do quickly is to fold it on bias like so, and then you place your neck fabric on it where we have the neck like so. Still unfold, place it on it, because it's the exact measurements that we have here that we're going to use to cut it out. So place it properly like I'm doing, make sure it aligns very well, and then next thing we'll mark it out because we want to use this same, no mistakes. We want to make sure that it's the same. Then I'll cut it out. Okay, so after cutting it out like so, you have to determine the width of your turtleneck. So I'm going to use 2 inches plus all the necessary joining allowance. So measure your 2 inches all through and curve it out properly. After doing that, I'll cut it. Can you see? I'll quickly cut the same thing for the back. Now after cutting it, the next thing you have to do is to iron it with your paper stay and keep it ready. So by the time we get to the joining parts, I'll show you how to sew it on this fabric. Preparation is key. Look at what I've done so far. This is the front piece. And this is the lining. I ironed it, and what I've done is just to stitch the neck, only the neck. I did the same thing for the back. I've stitched the back neck, both of them. So next thing, we are going to join the shoulders. So I'm going to sew the main fabric separately. I hope you can see this. I'm going to sew this down on 0.5. Afterwards, I'll turn it like so to be able to sew the lining together like this. So you are sewing them independently of themselves. You are sewing the neck, make sure it does not get to the very end. So the 0.5 you're leaving here is what you're going to use to, sew it back and then sew the lining. I'll do that quickly, and then we'll continue. So I'm preparing each and every one of them. Okay, I've also ironed my paper stay on the collar that I'll be attaching shortly. And then this is our peplon. I told you how to sew the crinoline, and that is what I have done. So I've secured it properly. Can you see? So our crinoline is ready. Preparing each and every one of them is actually the key, so that it will be easy for us to just join. And I've also gone ahead to sew the upper part of it, just to secure the lining and the main fabric so that they can become one piece like so. All right, then for the down one, I've drawn my gathers. I told you that the down one is gathers, so look at what it looks like. Okay, with your needle and thread like so, you have to run loose stitch at the hem part. At this part, I'm going to join it. So this is my gathers. Can you see? I like using needle and thread to do my gathers so that I'll be able to control the volume. Okay, so if I want to make it to be a little thick like this, I'll gather it up like this. So this is my gathers, actually full, and this is the lining. I also run my gathers for the lining. Can you see? And I've secured the down part, the hem part. I folded 0.25 and I fold it again to be 0.5. So I've secured it properly. So now everything is actually ready. So just join. And all right, next I want to show you is the sleeve. I cut out a flare to make that pop that you're seeing. So what I did is to multiply the armhole circumference. Measure the child's armhole. I multiplied it by 6.28 to be able to cut out a flare like this. Can you see? So if you want it to be very full, you have to add something to the radius you're going to cut out, or you have to approximate it. Let's say after dividing your armhole by 6.28, what you're getting is about 2.5. You can approximate it to 2.8 or 3 inches, so that by the time you pleat it on this side, you have that fullness. Okay, and then this down part, I'm going to run gathers on it. My weight is going to be the ram arm sleeve of the child. When you measure the round arm sleeve where you want the puff to stop. So by the time you draw gathers here and gather it together, you'll be able to get just the small, circumference of the child's round sleeve. Okay, then I cut out these strips I'm going to use and finish it up at the hem. So basically, I'm just going to prepare all these things I've mentioned here now, so that I will now attach it to this gown. All right, so mates, I've joined the shoulders. Can you see? Remember I told you that it's going to be separately joined, the main fabric and the lining. So the next thing to do is for us to fix our collar. Haven't ironed your collar. This is going to be the support fabric, right? So you are going to place it like this, side by side, and then we're going to start sewing from this end. I'll sew this place and I'll sew all to this point. We're not going to close this part right now. So if I sew it down like this, then I'll be able to turn it, open it, iron it, and then this lower part is what we're going to use to start fixing it round here. Okay, I hope you understand that. So after doing that, the next thing is for us to fix the sleeve, and then we'll shape. Okay, look at what the sleeve look like. I've done this one already. Okay, so what I did was to, remember, we cut it in a flare shape. So the upper part, the lower part, I've done my gathers. So it's the gathers, the fullness of the gathers that you cut, that will give you this this fullness you're looking at. You see the way it's puffing up. You see, it's beautiful, right? And then the upper part too, I draw a very loose gathers on it. So this part will be fixed right on the sleeve over here. Okay, so I'll be doing that real quick now so that I can, start joining the lower part. So here, can you see I've sewn it? I've sewn this part from this point all through this axis, and the next thing I'll do is to notch. Make sure you don't cut through your seam lines. Notch it up. You see what I'm doing? It helps it to relax properly. So I'm going to give it a good press after notching it now, and then we'll start fixing it. All right, so mates, I've ironed it. To join it, let me show you something. I'm going to start from this point and sew it all through to this point. Okay, so you're going to start from the very points here. Start sewing on one side, this one. I'm going to start sewing on here and use this one to cover up. So you place it like so, and we're going to sew it down on 0.5. So keep sewing it all through until we get to the last part here, and then let me pin it down and show you so that you understand. Okay, so it's on this part. So after sewing it down, it's going to be like this. This is the front, and then coming to the back, we're not going to fold it up on it, to cover up at the back, and then we'll top stitch it round. Okay, just finished sewing the turtleneck. You can see how it's laying. It's laying very well. Look at the inside, neatly sewn. You can barely see the seam lines that I use. That is how neat to sew. So the next thing is for us to join the side. So to do that, you have to make sure you lay your fabric properly. Make sure that every part is aligned. That's the main fabric is aligned, and also that the lining is also aligning. Okay, that's the first thing to do. So after arranging them properly, next we start shaping. And you can be asking, how do you shape? You divide your chest circumference into 2. Whatever you get, you measure it down on this chest line, and then you mark it down. Now after marking it, you still have to measure the difference remaining. Okay, divide it into 2. Then you mark half on this other side. I hope you can see. And then the other one, you transfer it to its other side and mark it down. And after doing that, to go straight to the waist measurement, you measure your waist measurement, divide it into 2 and mark it down. Do the same thing by dividing and then sharing the difference, and then saying you mark it down. As you can see, after doing that, the next thing is now for us to shape it. How do you shape it? You have to pick your main fabric separately. That is how we do. That is how we achieve neat finishing. We measure it and sew it independently of themselves. Afterwards, we'll fix our sleeve, the bow sleeve. We'll fix it down. So mates, we have attached our sleeves. Can you see? And basically everything is ready. So to join the lower parts of this gown, you have to get the midpoint. So you have to match up like this, get the midpoint and put a notch to it. Can you see? And do the same thing for the lining. Okay, then we're going to start fixing our peplon first. So the peplon, you have to get the midpoint as well, put a notch to it, and then we'll pin it down. So we'll pin the center first, like so. Can you see? Pin it like so, and then we connect it to this point, and then we pin it down. Remember that what we did was peplon angle 720, so definitely the waist is going to be a little bit wide. So it's up to you now to know how do you want to gather this. Do you want to make a gather, or do you want to pleat it? You may want to pleat it like this. So you're going to be doing this at intervals. If you fold it in like this, then you pin it down, you move a little bit again, pin this down here, and then on this part again, you see, and then we'll pin it down also, and the last one. So it's as simple as that. So after pinning them down and everything is properly matched, then we'll start sewing it down, starting from one end to the other end. I'm going to sew it down now on 0.5 all through. Now after sewing this part, then we'll now bring the last part, which is the big gathers. This one, we'll practically do the same thing. Get to the midpoint, clip it, and then from one end, I'll sew it down. Afterwards, I'll grab the lining and do the same thing. So that is basically that. The last thing is just to fix the zipper at the back, and this gown is done, right? And here is the finished look of the gown we've been making. I hope you enjoy watching this video. I hope this video has been very, very helpful. All right, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye bye.